The Judicial Service Commission started to rerun the interviews to fill the 2 vacancies in the Constitutional Court. The Deputy Chief Justice Raymond Zondo was chairing the interviews. They're expected to finish only on Friday. It comes after the High Court in Joburg set aside the JSC shortlist following a legal challenge. Freedom Under Law's Nicole Fritz has been following the interviews closely. She joins us now to unpack the day's proceedings. Nicole, good afternoon to you, and thank you very much indeed for your time. Firstly, the fact that the interviews are being rerun, does this undo the damage that was allegedly caused by the way they were held the first time?
Good afternoon, Stephen, and to the viewers. Sadly not. So they are being rerun in terms of a settlement that was authorized by the court. But, you know, it is an indication that when constitutional bodies fail to discharge their functions properly, even if there is a rerun of that process, the harm cannot necessarily be undone. And I speak here specifically about the fact that Judge Pillay has made herself unavailable. And I think anyone watching her last experience in April will understand why she may have chosen to make herself unavailable for this round. One of the candidates today, Advocate Alan Dodson, spoke about the profound transformation that has happened in our judiciary, and I think that that is true. But we have done less well in terms of transforming our bench to reflect the demographics of South Africa in terms of gender. Of the 8 initial candidates shortlisted, only 3 were female. And in fact, the exclusion of Judge Pillay means that of the remaining 7, there are only 2 women who now fall to be considered for the position of appointment to the Constitutional Court. So that pool has been narrowed in a way that I think is a loss to this country.
The other issue is whether, what the court challenge was based on primarily on the behavior of several people, including the politicians who are on the Judicial Service Commission. Now, this is quite complicated because you're now expecting politicians to behave in a particular way and to place boundaries around how they behave when they are representing, well, in this case, they're representing Parliament, but they'll say they're also representing constituencies. Do you believe the politicians are going to behave differently this time around?
I have to say, having watched the interview process today, I do think it represents a distinct improvement on what we saw in April, and that may be because of the educative function of the application which was brought by KSAC. I also believe that there has been an induction process, and maybe that has allowed the commissioners to understand what their role is and the duties that they are required to discharge, and that in fact as representatives, as commissioners on the Judicial Service Commission, their first allegiance is not to their political parties but to perform a role in service of the public, to ensure that the candidates who are appointed to judicial office are fit and proper and are of the most exceptional quality that we might hope for as South Africans.
The other issue is how important the chair of a process like this can be. So it was Chief Justice Mogoeng last time around. His term of office actually comes to an end, I think it's the next Monday. The Deputy Chief Justice Raymond Zondo, who frankly has been on TV for more hours than anyone else in the history of the country, is currently chairing these sessions. Does that make a difference?
Well, again, we haven't seen the types of disquieting episodes today. I think, the process hasn't been brought to a conclusion, but we haven't seen the types of disquieting episodes that we saw last time. And I think, you've referred to the fact that, some of the political representatives behaved improperly in the last round, and that is absolutely correct. But I think even more troubling was that those who are representatives of the legal profession, and indeed the chair, our Chief Justice, arguably behaved in a highly improper manner. In fact, he led the attack on Judge Pillay, put to her, allegations that she could not in any way have been fairly or properly thought to have been able to provide an answer to, referring to supposed interactions that happened without her presence, of which she had no knowledge. And so, yes, the very fact that we haven't, and as I say, the process hasn't come to a conclusion, the very fact that we haven't had such an episode today is an illustration that the role of the chair is enormously important. Not only...
Sorry to interrupt you. Continue.
No, not only in respect, obviously, of his or her own actions, but, their powers to ensure that the other commissioners hold the line and act within their powers and discharge their functions as they are required to do.
I mean, there's so much going on in the judiciary at the moment because at the same time we are expecting other judges to retire soon. What I'm saying is we really need more constitutional court judges, and we need them quite quickly.
That's absolutely true. And I mean, one of the thoughts that I had watching these proceedings was that there was, today, was that there's in fact an extraordinary richness, on offer in terms of the candidates. And, there's one of the points that Phil and KSAC and Judges Matter have made has been that the interview process must be fair. There must be a general parity. So, the experience of one candidate must not be hugely different and dissimilar from another candidate. There must be similar questions that are put to them. Obviously, that's not an inflexible requirement. What would you think on offer? What kind of the richness that is being made available by these individual candidates and the diversity of that? And I did think that, these interviews today are to fill the replacements left by Judge Cameron and Judge Froneman. But of course, there are also the expected retirements of Judge Jafta and Justice Kampepe. And then if the Chief Justice is appointed from amongst the ranks of the current Constitutional Court judges, there will then be another vacancy. And that, in fact, one wants to make these appointments with a view to staffing that court for diversity, for richness of experience. And that's not necessarily just in terms of assessment of individual candidates, but in a sense of determining what a particular group of appointments might offer to the Constitutional Court. And I think, perhaps separating out the interviews in the way that they have done might mean that one's not taking those factors into account, and the potential diversity, the richness and breadth of experience that one might be offering to this court in terms of the very many vacancies that stand to be filled.
Nicole, Fritz, CEO of Freedom Under Law, thanks very much indeed. Do appreciate it.